What if the stories of gods, monsters, and lost worlds weren't just myths, but encrypted truths? Welcome to the Myth Code, Decoding Ancient Truths. In this video, we dive deep into ancient legends from around the world to uncover hidden meanings, forgotten wisdom, and messages that may have been left for future generations. From Sumerian tablets to African folklore, these tales might be more than just storytelling. They could be the keys to understanding our origins, purpose, and destiny. Get ready to question everything you thought you knew. The code is ancient, but the truth is timeless. Let's begin. For generations, myths have been dismissed as fanciful tales, cultural bedtime stories, remnants of primitive thinking, or symbolic entertainment from bygone eras. But what if they're more than that? What if myths are not just stories, but codes, deliberate, symbolic systems meant to preserve deep truths? Across time and culture, myths share similar structures, archetypes, and messages, suggesting that humanity has long been trying to communicate something important beneath layers of metaphor. This is the Myth Code, Decoding Ancient Truths, an exploration into the hidden architecture of the world's oldest stories and what they might really be saying about who we are, where we come from, and where we're going. Part 1. The Language of Myth. Myth is not mere fiction. It is symbolic language, encoded thought passed through generations. Unlike modern factual writing, myths use allegory, personification, and cosmic drama to communicate abstract truths. Consider the structure of most myths. A divine origin or creation event. A fall or disruption. A journey or struggle. A resolution or redemption. This mirrors the psychological and spiritual journey of the human experience. Myths speak to the soul's evolution, often portraying it through heroes, gods, monsters, and cosmic forces. In this way, myths are not lies. They are truths told sideways. Joseph Campbell, renowned mythologist, once wrote, "Myth is the secret opening through which the inexhaustible energies of the cosmos pour into human cultural manifestation." Thus, decoding myths means learning to read the symbolic language, to find the pattern beneath the poetry. Part 2. The archetypes that cross time and culture. When we look across global mythology, recurring archetypes emerge. This universality is one of the strongest clues that myths hold a deeper code. 1. The Great Flood. From the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh to the biblical story of Noah, from Hindu texts to Mayan legends, the tale of a great deluge appears across continents. These stories may reflect ancient memory, perhaps of rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age, but also symbolize the spiritual idea of purification, destruction, and rebirth. 2. The Dying and Rising God. Osiris in Egypt, Tammuz in Babylon, Dionysus in Greece, Jesus in Christianity. All follow a pattern of death and resurrection. This archetype speaks not just to agricultural cycles, but to the inner transformation required for enlightenment. The old self must die for the new self to be born. 3. The Hero's Journey. The path of a hero, leaving home, facing trials, receiving aid, experiencing death or transformation, and returning transformed, is a mythic blueprint found in almost every culture. This isn't just a narrative device. It's a psychological map of personal growth and awakening. These archetypes are not coincidences. They are echoes of a shared spiritual language, suggesting a collective effort to encode cosmic truths in timeless symbols. Part 3. Myths as Memory. Another layer of the myth code lies in the idea that myths preserve memory, not just spiritual memory, but historical memory as well. 1. Cataclysmic events. Many myths refer to a lost world, Atlantis, Lemuria, or sunken lands swallowed by the sea. While often dismissed as fantasy, geological and archaeological evidence increasingly supports the idea that advanced civilizations may have existed before known history. Myths may be fragmented memories of these lost epics. 2. Celestial knowledge. Ancient myths often encode astronomical knowledge. The Egyptian myth of Osiris and Isis, the stories of Orion and the Pleiades across cultures, or the precise alignment of sacred structures with solstices and star systems. These point to a mythic language tied to the stars. Perhaps myths were designed to preserve cosmic cycles, celestial wisdom, and timekeeping methods long before writing. 3. Prehistoric wisdom. Take, for instance, the Aboriginal Dreamtime stories of Australia, oral traditions that describe geological features and animal migrations now confirmed by modern science. These are not mere stories. They are data-rich transmissions of environmental and metaphysical knowledge coded through myth. Part 4. Hidden symbols and esoteric codes. Symbols are the alphabet of myth. They compress vast meaning into singular forms. The serpent, the tree, the eye, the mountain. These are not arbitrary. They are visual metaphors for spiritual truths. 1. The serpent. Across traditions, the serpent can represent danger, wisdom, or transformation. In Kundalini Yoga, it symbolizes coiled energy at the base of the spine, waiting to rise. In Genesis, the serpent brings knowledge. In Mesoamerican myths, the feathered serpent Quetzalcoatl is a god of learning. The serpent is a perfect example of a mythic code, ambiguous, layered, and deeply symbolic. 2. The tree. From the Norse Yggdrasil to the biblical tree of life and tree of knowledge, the tree often represents the axis mundi, the connection between heaven, earth, and the underworld. It is the map of reality, the ladder of consciousness. 3. The eye. Whether it's the eye of Horus, the third eye of Hinduism, or the all-seeing eye in esoteric traditions, the eye represents inner vision, spiritual awareness, beyond ordinary sight. These symbols transcend culture, pointing to truths about perception, consciousness, and enlightenment. Learning to interpret these symbols is central to decoding the myth code. They are not random decorations. They are encrypted instructions for the soul. Part 5. The role of sacred geometry and sound. Some researchers argue that myths are not just symbolic, but also mathematical and vibrational. Sacred geometry, patterns like the flower of life, the golden ratio, or the spiral, appear in mythic structures and artwork globally. Why? Because geometry reflects the underlying order of the universe. Myths often embed these patterns into temples, mandalas, and stories to communicate that order. Just as DNA spirals, galaxies rotate, and music follows scales, myth may be trying to tell us that creation follows sacred harmonics. Even spoken myths carry encoded frequencies. In many traditions, chanting or reciting myths is believed to invoke power, not just because of content, but because sound itself is a carrier of cosmic resonance. Part 6. Myth and the Evolution of Consciousness. Ultimately, myths are not just about the past. They are maps for evolving human consciousness. 1. Initiation and transformation. In ancient societies, myths were tools for initiation. Young men and women would undergo rituals based on mythic patterns to move from childhood to adulthood. These rites weren't symbolic. They were real transformations using myth as blueprint. 2. From fear to wisdom. Many myths begin in fear, the dragon, the underworld, the chaos, but end in integration. The monster is slain, the treasure won, the light returns. This reflects humanity's spiritual evolution, confronting darkness to discover light. 3. Collective awakening. Some myths even predict a golden age to come, an age of restored harmony between humans, nature, and the divine. In Hinduism, it's Satya Yuga. In Greek myth, it's the return of Kronos. In Hopi prophecy, it's the time of purification. These aren't apocalyptic warnings. They are invitations to awaken. The forgotten language of the soul. In a world driven by data, facts, and measurable outcomes, myth has become a neglected voice, often treated as a relic of a more primitive era. But what if myth is not something to grow out of, but something to grow into? What if these ancient stories hold a key not only to our past, but to our inner selves? This is the journey of reclaiming the code, an attempt to rediscover the myth code, a layered system of knowledge, symbolism, and spiritual technology designed to transcend time. At its heart, the myth code is not about literal history or fantastical entertainment. It is a profound mode of communication, transmitting truths that conventional language cannot express. These truths concern not just the world out there, but the world within, our origins, our struggles, our potential, and our purpose. Part 1. So what is the myth code? To reclaim the code, we must first understand what it is. The myth code is a symbolic system embedded in ancient stories, rituals, and symbols across cultures. It uses metaphor, archetype, cosmic patterns, and narrative to express truths that are otherwise ineffable. Myth is not falsehood. It is symbolic truth encoded in narrative form. Think of it as a spiritual operating system, one that was universally accessible, culturally specific, yet globally resonant. It exists in Egyptian hieroglyphs, Vedic hymns, African proverbs, Greek epics, Native American oral traditions, and even in the parables of sacred scriptures. All point toward the same thing, a deeper reality hidden beneath the surface of appearances. So when we speak of reclaiming the code, we are speaking about rediscovering who we are through symbolic truth, uncovering what we've forgotten about our place in the cosmos, remembering why we're here and where we might be going. The myth code is not random. It's deliberate, intelligent, and multidimensional. And most importantly, it's still alive. Part 2. The layers of the code. The myth code operates on multiple layers, each offering a different kind of insight. 1. The historical layer. Some myths preserve fragments of historical memory, cataclysmic floods, lost civilizations, migrations, and cultural collapses. These stories, like the tale of Atlantis, the sinking of Lemuria, or even the biblical flood, may point to real-world events that have been obscured by time but preserved in symbolic form. Reclaiming the myth code here means treating myth as a kind of oral archive, carrying information forward through the lens of culture and imagination. 2. The psychological layer. Psychologist Carl Jung identified myths as expressions of the collective unconscious, the shared psychic inheritance of humanity. The characters in myths, the hero, the trickster, the wise old man, the devouring mother, are not just narrative tools. They are inner realities. They show up in dreams, fears, ambitions, and spiritual quests. Reclaiming the code means understanding ourselves better through myth. It is a psychological mirror of the soul. 3. The cosmological layer. Many myths contain advanced knowledge of the stars, seasons, and cosmic cycles. For instance, the Egyptian myths of Osiris align with the Orion constellation. The Mayan myths encode astronomical cycles with mathematical precision. The mythic calendar is often more precise than modern ones. These stories show that myth was also a tool for timekeeping and celestial orientation, a way to embed cosmic knowledge into culture. 4. The metaphysical layer. At the deepest level, myths explore the nature of existence itself. They speak of creation and dissolution, of the struggle between chaos and order, of death and rebirth. These are not just poetic ideas, they are metaphysical principles. They point towards spiritual laws that govern reality. To reclaim the code at this level is to align with deeper truths that transcend doctrine and speak directly to the eternal. Part 3. Myths as spiritual technology. Technology doesn't have to mean machines. It can also mean any tool designed to produce transformation. In this sense, myth is a spiritual technology, a tool for awakening. Think about the use of myth in initiation rituals. Young men and women were guided through symbolic stories that mirrored their transformation from childhood to adulthood. These myths were not entertainment, they were scripts for sacred rites, designed to shift consciousness. Take the Eleusinian mysteries of ancient Greece. Participants enacted the myth of Persephone's descent into the underworld. But the goal wasn't performance, it was inner rebirth. Similarly, Native American vision quests, African drumming ceremonies, or Vedic fire rituals all use mythic frameworks to induce altered states and transmit wisdom. The myth code, then, is a kind of sacred software intended to help us evolve, not just understand. Part 4. The Loss and Why It Matters. Over time, humanity began to lose its mythic literacy. The rise of rationalism, colonization, dogmatic religion, and scientific literalism led many to see myth as superstition, something to outgrow. In some ways, this shift was necessary. The scientific method gave us medicine, technology, and a clearer understanding of the physical world. But in discarding myth, we also discarded meaning. We gained knowledge but lost wisdom. Now, we're left with a crisis of the soul. People search for identity in empty ideologies, addictive technologies, or material success. Depression, anxiety, and nihilism are rampant. We've lost the compass that myths once provided. To reclaim the code is not to return to primitive thinking. It's to reintegrate soul into society, to re-enchant the world. Part 5. Universal Symbols, Universal Truths. The myth code works through symbols, condensed images that transmit meaning beyond language. These include the serpent, representing both danger and wisdom, destruction and healing. The tree, symbolizing connection between worlds, heaven, earth, and the underworld. The labyrinth, reflecting the inner journey of confusion, death, and return. The hero, an archetype that reflects the soul's journey toward maturity and purpose. The dragon, the embodiment of chaos, guarding treasure, challenging the hero. These symbols transcend time and culture. Their persistence suggests that they are not inventions, but discoveries, expressions of something deeper, hardwired into the human experience. When we reclaim these symbols, we begin to access the universal truths they contain. We begin to awaken a kind of mythic intelligence, seeing the world not just for what it is, but for what it means. Part 6. The Code and Consciousness. Perhaps the most important function of myth is what it reveals about consciousness. In many traditions, myth is seen not as external, but internal, a reflection of states of awareness. The Garden of Eden, for instance, isn't just a place, it's a level of consciousness. The fall is the descent into duality. The return to Eden is the return to unity with the divine. The same goes for myths of light and darkness, death and rebirth. They are not just cosmic events, they are inner realities. The myth code, then, becomes a kind of instruction manual for the soul. It doesn't just describe consciousness, it awakens it. Reclaiming the code means recovering this inner language. It means seeing myth not as story, but as map. Part 7. Living the Code. To reclaim the myth code is not just an academic exercise. It's a lived journey. When you see your struggles as part of the hero's journey, you are living the code. When you find meaning in symbols that speak to you in dreams or synchronicities, you are listening to the code. When you feel a pull toward ancient stories, forgotten temples, or mysterious truths, your soul is remembering the code. Living the code means embracing mystery again. It means letting symbols speak, letting stories breathe, letting ancient voices whisper. It means walking through life with a sense of mythic purpose. In doing so, we become the new storytellers, not just repeating old myths, but weaving new ones. The myth code is not static. It evolves with us. And in reclaiming it, we become co-creators of the next chapter in the human story. A truth that never dies. So what is the myth code? It is the soul's memory, a sacred inheritance, a symbolic language woven through time, culture, and consciousness. It is a way of knowing that transcends facts, a wisdom that lives in metaphor, archetype, and mystery. The myth code carries within it hidden truths about our origins, where we come from, deep insights into cosmic laws, how reality works, mirrors for consciousness, who we really are, prophecies of destiny, what we are becoming. It may not be factual, but it is deeply true. And in a world obsessed with the surface, it invites us back to depth. To reclaim the myth code is to remember what modernity made us forget. That stories shape worlds, that symbols carry power, that truth can speak in many tongues, and myth is one of its oldest, most beautiful dialects. So listen carefully, watch closely, read between the lines, because the myth code is not gone. It is waiting for you to reclaim it. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the myth code. Decoding ancient truths. What if myths aren't just echoes of the past, but blueprints for the future? The symbols, the stories, the secrets, they all point to something deeper, something waiting to be rediscovered. If this video sparked new questions or gave you a fresh perspective, be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. There's so much more to uncover, and we're just getting started. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, sometimes the oldest stories hide the most powerful truths.